The missing epilogue, the story ended before it proved its own thesis from Chapter 1. Black Clover makes a promise that is never revoked: Asta and Yuno will one day fight for the title of Wizard King. This is not a background goal. It is the spine of the entire narrative. Every rivalry, every power-up, every ideological contrast between the two protagonists is framed around a single endpoint: two orphans, two paths, one crown. And yet, when the final battle ends, the story stops. No epilogue arc. No final rivalry. No institutional resolution. This is not subversion. This is a mission. 11. Why Asta vs Yuno was not optional. Asta vs Yuno is not about who wins a title. It is about what kind of world wins. Asta represents human limitation and strength, defiance of fate, power without mana. Yuno represents natural talent, royal lineage, blessed destiny, harmony with the system. Throughout the story, the question is never who is stronger. The real question is, does the world belong to effort or inheritance? To anomaly or perfection? To disruption or preservation? Lucius's ideology directly intersects this rivalry. He believes in engineered perfection, predetermined futures, and controlled evolution. Asta is the singular contradiction to that worldview. Yuno exists in between, blessed by fate, yet shaped by effort. Ending the series without allowing this ideological conflict to culminate in a formal, institutional contest is equivalent to abandoning the story's thesis. 12. The Wizard King title, an unresolved political system. The Wizard King is not a trophy. It is a political and symbolic role. Unresolved questions include: who decides the next Wizard King? Has the institution changed after Lucius? Does strength alone still define leadership? Can someone without mana rule a mana-based society? These questions cannot be answered by a final punch. They require debate, demonstration, a public reckoning. An epilogue arc was the natural place for this. 13. What the epilogue should have been, without excess chapters. This did not require a full saga. A 5 to 7 chapter epilogue would have sufficed. A realistic structure: Chapter 1 to 2, Aftermath, reconstruction of the Clover Kingdom, political fallout, public reaction to Asta and Yuno. Chapter 3 to 4, declaration, formal announcement of Wizard King succession, Asta and Yuno acknowledged as final candidates, ideological framing of their rivalry. Chapter 5 to 6, the battle, a controlled, symbolic duel, not about killing or dominance, about leadership, philosophy, restraint, and resolve. Chapter 7, resolution, winner declared, or system changed entirely, final acknowledgement of what Asta represents, closure for both protagonists. This is not indulgence. This is closure. 14. Why ending without this arc undermines the entire series. Without the Wizard King resolution, Asta's journey remains incomplete. Yuno's purpose is unresolved. The world does not evolve on screen. The series ends at the defeat of evil, not the construction of meaning. Defeating Lucius answers the question, who was wrong? The epilogue answers the question, what replaces him? That second question is more important. 15. Pattern recognition: this is the same failure, again. This exact missing epilogue problem appears repeatedly in other Shueisha series: final villain defeated, world saved, story stops, consequences implied, not shown. This is not artistic minimalism. It is production exhaustion. Endings are where publishers lose weekly leverage. So endings are compressed to the smallest viable unit. The cost is narrative legacy. Final point of Part 2: Black Clover did not need hundreds more chapters. It needed completion, discipline. The missing lore, the unresolved mysteries, the underused antagonist, and the absent epilogue all point to the same conclusion: the story ended because it had to, not because it was finished. Part 3. Lucius Zogratis was not a fraud villain, he was a conceptual antagonist strangled by compression. Lucius Zogratis was never designed to be a conventional shonen villain. He was not meant to be remembered through raw destruction, excessive spectacle, or simple domination. His threat was ideological. His power was systemic. His danger lay in inevitability. Lucius represented a future where choice no longer mattered. He believed humanity should be perfected through controlled evolution, guided by a singular will that could see all outcomes and select the optimal one. Time magic was not his weapon. It was his proof. To Lucius, free will was an inefficiency. Individual struggle was noise. Imperfection was a flaw to be edited out of existence. This ideology directly opposed everything Black Clover had spent hundreds of chapters establishing. And that is precisely why Lucius required time. A villain like Lucius does not work if defeated quickly. He must be experienced as unavoidable. His logic must feel seductive before it feels monstrous. His vision must almost convince the reader that resistance is futile. That never happened. Not because the idea was weak, but because the narrative was rushed past the stages required to make it land. Lucius never had the space to demonstrate his philosophy at scale. He never reshaped the world long enough for readers to feel the horror of a perfected future. He never forced the protagonists to live inside his system. As a result, readers did not reject his ideology. They barely encountered it. This is why he is called a fraud. Not because he lacked power, but because the story lacked time to prove him right before proving him wrong. The illusion of overpowered villains. Lucius possessed abilities that, on paper, exceeded almost every antagonist before him. Time manipulation, soul control, evolutionary magic, and near-universal oversight placed him closer to a god than a tyrant. Yet his impact felt limited. There were no long-term consequences. No irreversible changes to the world. No prolonged domination. No altered reality that characters had to endure and adapt to. Power without consequence feels hollow. This is a direct result of compression. A villain of Lucius's scope needed an arc where he won decisively, not just tactically. He needed time to remake society, not just threaten it. He needed chapters where resistance felt pointless. Instead, the story accelerated toward resolution. The system demanded closure before devastation. Part 4. The forgotten spine of Black Clover. Class conflict without resolution. From its opening chapter, Black Clover positioned itself as a story about class. Not metaphorically. Literally. Peasants without mana lived at the bottom. Nobles hoarded power through bloodlines. Royals ruled by inheritance. Magic was not just strength. It was social currency. Asta was born into the lowest possible position in this hierarchy. Not simply poor, but fundamentally excluded from the system itself. This was not background flavor. This was the engine of the story. Yet by the end, this conflict remains largely unresolved. Low class versus nobles was never concluded. Throughout the series, we see discrimination, mockery, exclusion, and institutional bias. Peasants are treated as expendable. Noble squads are privileged. Power determines worth. But when the final arc ends, the structure remains intact. Questions left unanswered include: has noble dominance ended? Has mana-based hierarchy been dismantled? Can a mana-less individual rule have institutions meaningfully changed? Or has only the villain been removed? Defeating Lucius did not dismantle the system that allowed Lucius to rise. That system was class stratification. Lucius should have been the culmination of class conflict. Lucius was not separate from the class system. He was its logical endpoint. A society that values bloodlines inevitably creates someone who believes bloodlines should be perfected. A world that ranks worth by magic inevitably produces someone who seeks to optimize humanity. Lucius was the final form of noble ideology. That connection was never fully explored. Instead of positioning Lucius as the inevitable consequence of a broken hierarchy, the story treated him as an isolated extremist. This weakened both the villain and the theme. Aster as a class anomaly. Aster was not just an underdog. He was a walking contradiction. Mana-less. Weapon-based. Anti-magic. Self-made. He represented a future where value was not inherited. But the story never showed the system reacting meaningfully to his existence. We never see laws rewritten, institutions reformed, social norms overturned, the peasantry empowered. Structurally, Aster changes individuals, not systems. That is not enough for a story that framed class conflict as central. As the middle ground that was never explored. Should have been the bridge between classes. Royal blood. Peasant upbringing. Immense talent. Deep humility. He was the perfect character to explore reconciliation between inherited power and earned strength. Instead, his role was narrowed to rivalry and battlefield competence. The ideological potential of was left untouched. Why this keeps happening? The Shueisha pattern. When this exact failure appears repeatedly across multiple flagship series, the responsibility shifts away from individual authors. This has occurred with Bleach, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, Black Clover. Different authors. Same outcome. Rushed finales. Missing epilogues. Unresolved themes. Structural collapse at the end. This indicates a production problem. Weekly serialization prioritizes momentum, not resolution. Endings are treated as operational risks rather than narrative necessities. The moment a final arc is declared, the clock starts. Stories are wrapped before they are finished. Responsibility is shared, but not equal. Authors create worlds. Publishers control schedules. When multiple authors fail in the same way, under the same publisher, across the same magazine, responsibility becomes systemic. This is not an attack. It is an observation. Shueisha has built one of the most successful manga platforms in history. But its model is no longer compatible with modern epic storytelling. Long-form narratives require controlled pacing, planned conclusions, and breathing room. Black Clover did not receive that. The missing epilogue as proof of systemic failure, the absence of an epilogue resolving Aster vs. the Wizard King, succession, institutional reform, social restructuring is not artistic choice. It is production exhaustion. The story stops at the defeat of evil, not the construction of meaning. That is not a completed narrative. Call for accountability and restoration. This essay is not written out of hatred. It is written out of respect for the work. Black Clover deserved an expanded final arc, clarified mysteries, a philosophical confrontation with Lucius, a resolved class system, a Wizard King epilogue. None of these require a reboot. They require acknowledgement. This video is a call for transparency about production constraints, acceptance of shared responsibility, willingness to restore missing narrative material, consideration of an expanded or revised ending. This message is intended to reach the author, the publisher, the audience. Truth does not damage art. Silence does. Closing statement for the video. If this story resonates, if these patterns feel familiar, if multiple series you loved ended the same way, then the issue is not coincidence. It is structure. This video is not an attack. It is a record. And if it reaches 1 million to 5 million viewers, that is not controversy. That is collective recognition. Black Clover was not ruined by its ideas. It was stopped before it could finish them.